The exclusive Husqvarna Viking Sewing Advisor is built right into this machine. And what we're talking about is being able to tell the machine which fabric you're actually working on, and then it will tell us which stitch we need, maybe for the technique we pick, or it will also adjust your pressure of your foot and any settings for that stitch that might need to be adjusted. So for example, if we are sewing on a stretch medium, and here's all your fabrics, so you've got woven light, woven medium, that's the one that the machine will come back to when you turn it off. But if you did a stretch fabric today and touch the Joy OS of sewing at the top, you're going to notice the stretch stitch is here, and now the pressure has actually been reduced. So it went down to 3 instead of being up at the normal 6. So that means that your fabric's not going to come out very wavy. Now here's another little fun thing is, for example, if we picked vinyl or leather as our fabric, it's going to switch over to the foot H. That's the non-stick foot that comes with this machine. So that's why that would actually change. But let's talk about the settings that it changes. So for example, let's go back to our woven medium. And as we look at just a basic straight stitch, the stitch length is 2.5. But if we were to pick a heavier version of the woven fabric, so woven heavy, then your stitch length is going to be lengthened. It goes to a longer stitch length, and that's so you don't get those little tiny stitches that you're trying to push or even push the fabric through. The machine knows that it needs to be longer. And vice versa, if we were to pick a woven light and then pick the stitch, you're going to notice the stitch length will go down to 2.0. So sometimes when I have people come to class, they're like, why are my settings different than my neighbors? And that's because of the different fabrics that they have selected. Now here's another nice thing. So let's say you've picked your fabric. Let's go ahead and do a stretch. Let's just do a stretch heavy, and then we're going to do a seam. So when you pick seam, it's going to go into another area and kind of a project tab. So instead of being in the blue stitches tab, it's got just the one stitch that you will be needing, plus a tutorial popped up so you could easily follow what might need to be done for that particular for that technique that you picked. And look, a stretch needle has actually been popped up on your screen for this and the size for that particular fabric. And let's peek at the pressure too. Also been reduced because if your foot is too heavy, that's what stretches it out and gives you those waves. So let's do this one more time. Let's say we're sewing on a very lightweight fabric, not stretchy, but woven. And this time we're going to do a buttonhole. So let's see which buttonhole it picks. So it also picks the correct one. Remember, there's lots of buttonholes in this machine, and it tells me if I need the manual buttonhole or the censored one. The red wheel indicates that I want the censored one, and same thing, it switches over to the thread portioning option. So those stitches are going to turn out beautiful. Here's a little tutorial if I want to step myself through how to measure my button for this area, and there's even a video of how to do it. I can make this little tutorial come bigger on my screen. I can also make that go back down to the bottom, and I can also hide it down here, kind of in that little dome. But that is the video and information for the project that I'm working on. Now notice you don't have any other stitches, so when you're done, you can just go back to that turquoise flag and then pick the stitch that you want to go back to, and that's how easy it is. But when you do, why don't you make sure you go back to the fabric that you're going to be sewing on next. And if you're unsure what you are working on, just pick woven medium. That's kind of the default fabric for this machine.